Welcome back to the Resilient Entrepreneur Podcast, brought to you by, that's right, me, Kevin Johnson of Leverage Consulting. So at the end of each of my podcasts, I say or ask that if you have questions, comments, or anything of the like, feel free to send them to me. And I did get one after one of the recent podcasts and thought I would, and mentioned in the post that I would bring it to one of the podcasts to answer it. So essentially the question was, if you are the manager or the owner of an operation, shouldn't you know how to do everything? What do you think my answer to the question is? Well, the answer to the question is no, and it is also yes. So maybe I'll spend the next few minutes here talking about the difference between my answer of no and yes. And it really doesn't matter where you are in the business. You could have any one of numerous functions or roles, responsibilities in your business. And it basically boils down to this. You cannot be the chief cook and bottle washer. You cannot do it all and scale. So here's where the yes and no comes into play. You need to know enough about what needs to be done. You need to know the jobs, you need to know the roles, you need to know responsibilities. And this is one that really wasn't intended to be part of this podcast, but it's going to be part of the podcast. And it doesn't matter if you go to a fast food restaurant, you go to Walmart, or you go to a number of other places, go to your business, your office, and people get very stuck on process and systems and scripting. And that's a lot of what I help clients with. But I will be the first one to tell you it's not everything. It can't be everything because our world is not so perfect. We deal with human beings. We have days where, in today's environment, we have people that contract COVID and they have to quarantine at home for 14 days. And they don't go to work, or they have to work from home, or they have to miss all the appointments they had scheduled in that 2-week time frame. So when you are thinking about that question of should I know how to do absolutely everything, you can't do it all. As I said earlier, you cannot do it all and scale. So if you're looking to build a business or continue to grow your business in such a way that you are leveraging your efforts, your team members' efforts, and we continue to do more volume, or we work with more clients, it all is really dependent upon us knowing outcomes. So this, again, goes back to that question. Don't I need to know how to do it all? This is where you should not need to know how to do it all. Because if you get stuck in the minutia of process and systems and scripting. Now, mind you, if we were going to send a shuttle into space, absolutely. You better know systems and processes and so forth to the nth degree because you got one shot and it has to be right. So when you think about what we do for a living, whether you are a surgeon, you are a dentist, you build homes, you sell homes, whatever it is, we need to know what the outcome is. Imagine buying a home. You don't care about whether someone followed a system or a script or a process. Could care less. What you do care about is that you were able to buy your home with little to no stress and it closed on time. That's what matters. You don't care about all the other stuff. And there are times where we really need to run the business that way. So if you think about a patient, or you think about in fact, this is one of the things that I do with clients. One of the things that I want them to focus on every day, because if we do these three things, if you've listened to my podcast enough, or if you're a client of mine, you've heard me say this before, there are three responsibilities we have throughout the day. Every one of you have a producer or multiple producers. These are the people who create income for the business. Could be a dentist, a surgeon, could be the real estate agent, could be the salesperson or the guy that owns the home building company. Could be any number of things, any number of people. And then we have, and when I say and everyone else, equally important positions, because if they can't do their job, they're less productive. So we have to think about these three outcomes, these three rules that we're looking for every day. Our producers run on time. So would you agree with me that if a dentist or a surgeon does not run on time, that the rest of the office starts to fall apart? I'm sure that you would agree with me, because it then starts affecting customer service. It starts affecting our ability to schedule future appointments, because people start questioning, do I want to be seen 30 minutes late every day or every time I come here? If the staff appears to be stressed out, that brings us to rule number 2, or outcome number 2 that I'm always looking for. And that is, every one of our customers leave here with a smile every time. So, and it's everyone's responsibility. As I'm listing out rule number 1, rule number 2, rule number 3, it's everyone's responsibility to facilitate these three things. There isn't a person there that isn't affected or has effect on the ability to do these three things. Again, first rule is our producers are on time. Number 2 is every one of our patients or customers leave here with a smile. And rule number 3, every one of our team members leaves here with a smile. There's a reason and purpose for all this. Going back to the original purpose of this podcast, when you think about whether I need to know the minutia, whether I need to know the nth degree of a scheduling coordinator's job or a treatment coordinator's job or a salesperson's job. No, you do not. Because at the end of the day, did you meet your numbers or not? Were you able to fill the schedule or not? Those are outcome-based types of things. We can get busy and do all kinds of things. And with all due respect, everyone, a lot of times when we put those things up as an excuse for why we weren't able to get the outcome, it's just that. It's an excuse. When we focus on the outcomes like filling a schedule, we can't get today back. We have to focus on that. When we allow that person to leave without talking to them about the next service or the next appointment, we can't get that back. And it always takes longer to then pull that person back in to have that conversation, whether it's phone, text, email, whatever. So when we go back to the beginning of this, yes, we need to have systems. Yes, we need to have the various processes lined out, but we need to know the outcomes. And when I say we, I don't mean just the owner, not just the manager. Everyone needs to know what the outcomes are or what the desired outcomes are. Because if we don't know that as a group, we're just a collection of people working under a roof that's just working in such a way that we're hoping not to get yelled at. That's really what a lot of this boils down to. We just keep doing things and we guess throughout the course of the day. And really, if we don't have something to work towards, basically what we're doing is we're working to avoid being yelled at or being told we've done something wrong. I don't know if you've ever thought of it that way, but that is oftentimes, if people don't have job descriptions, and when I say job descriptions, again, that should be outcome-based. But if we don't have people who have goals, objectives that they're shooting for every day, they're just looking to get through the day without being yelled at, without being told they've done something wrong, or they didn't do anything at all. So think about that. Think about your day. Go back to work tomorrow or go to work today and look at your team. Look around you. Ask them, what are the top 3 to 5 things you're trying to do today? What are the top 3 to 5 things you're trying to do tomorrow? If we don't have good, tangible answers to those things, if you can't answer that question in 2 minutes or less, you have no direction. You have no goals. And this isn't intended to be something to point out what's wrong. What this is hopefully doing is pointing out what needs to happen. In today's world, oftentimes, if you look out on social media, the news and other things, we want to bring in negativity. This is not negativity. What this is hopefully some insight for you on how to make your future better. So, remember, outcomes-based. Yes, systems, scripts, and so forth, absolutely you need it, and it will carry 80 to 90% of what needs to be done. But there's a huge gap between that 80 to 90% and all the way to 100%. Huge gap. You think about it, McDonald's has built its reputation, and so has In-N-Out Burger, built its reputation on repeatability through systems. We can take anyone and put them in, and they can make decent hamburgers or fries or milkshakes if the machine ever works. You are a far cry from a McDonald's. There's a huge, huge gap, even between McDonald's and Chick-fil-A. So when you think about what can I do to get better, make sure your team knows the desired outcomes. So that, kids, that's an answer to my podcast. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, or anything else, feel free to reach out, send those comments to me, or drop them in the post below. I'd love to see it. Stay tuned because I've got another good one coming too.